Okay, Donald Trump has been speaking in Poland over the last 24 or so hours, a press conference, a very, very warm reception, which I'll explain to you in a little bit. He also gave a speech that was basically indistinguishable from a Saturday Night Live parody of his speeches, and it had a particularly strange section about North Korea. If you've been following what's up with North Korea, they 2 days ago launched a missile, which experts say has a range potentially capable of reaching Alaska. And Trump sort of made threats, but it was hard to understand exactly what he was talking about. And he just sounds like a little kid. Listen to this section of the speech about North Korea.
Not only must we secure our nations from the threat of terrorism, but we must also confront the threat from North Korea. And that's what it is. It's a threat. And we will confront it very strongly. President Duda and I call on all nations to confront this global threat and publicly demonstrate to North Korea that there are consequences for their very, very bad behavior. As far as North Korea is concerned, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't like to talk about what I have planned, but I have some pretty severe things that we're thinking about. That doesn't mean we're going to do them. I don't draw red lines.
Very strongly, very, very bad behavior, very severe things that we're thinking about. He sounds like an inexperienced parent trying to scold a 5-year-old, right? You've been very, very bad, and I'm thinking about doing some really severe things to you.
You know, it's perfectly fine to condemn North Korea for the missile strike, but you're walking on thin ice whenever you do it. So maybe you shouldn't use such patronizing language like they better behave, and maybe stick to the teleprompter when it comes to that sort of thing.
Not only that, he also said, I'm not going to say in advance what we're thinking of doing, but we are thinking of doing some very, very severe things. But that doesn't mean we're actually going to do them. Not exactly leadership language, right? What is happening in Trump's brain when he gives these speeches? Is he thinking about golf or maybe Mika and Joe or what's going on with their engagement? It's just he doesn't seem to be there, really. And there are serious questions about North Korea, as Pat is pointing out. I've been talking about North Korea for years. It's a real problem, and we're not trying to deny that. And the questions that we're dealing with seem to be way above Trump's pay grade. And by that, I mean his intellectual capacity. We've got the possibility of more sanctions, which will probably do nothing unless China participates, since they've become this sort of lifeline for North Korea. You've got Russia and China together in their refusal to really take out North Korea diplomatically, and that will likely make it difficult for the United States to unilaterally change the status quo in North Korea. There actually might have to be some kind of engagement with North Korea. And I know that in many American circles, sort of nationalist pride prevents people from even considering that as a viable option. But North Korea is a nuclear state. North Korea is going to continue being a nuclear state by all indications, and they appear to be making progress in terms of developing intercontinental ballistic missiles that could deliver a nuclear strike. So the U.S. policy for a long time has been no engagement with North Korea. We don't reward bad behavior. We'd basically be saying, oh, you went against everything we wanted you to do, and you've developed you've obtained weapons and you're developing missiles, and now we're going to talk to you. It's sort of seen as we're not going to reward bad behavior. But you've got to rethink pragmatically, right? At some point, sort of like with Cuba, you might have to do something. The Cuban embargo was to fight communism. We're going to destroy communism through the embargo. Decades went by and nothing happened. And then we realized we're really just hurting citizens in Cuba. And we also potentially are hurting American businesses that would want to establish hotels or businesses or whatever the case is there. What I can assure you that we don't want is for our national security to hinge more and more on effectively a penis-sized contest between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, two of the most erratic and petty world leaders in a long time. That we don't want. What we do want is probably not clear to Trump.
And when we have this conversation about potential impeachment of Donald Trump, you know, a lot of people may think that Mike Pence would be certainly worse on some issues domestically or on social policy. But I would trust his finger on the button a lot more so than this madman here.
When it comes to what we're talking about right now, and this is not me singing the praises of depraved ideologue Mike Pence by any means, I would be less worried about a sort of irrational and petty escalation with Kim Jong-un if it's Mike Pence in the Oval Office than Donald Trump. Yeah, I guess that we've at least found an area where we would rather Pence over Trump. This is serious stuff, you know, and I'm thinking of very, very severe things. It's like a little kid is in the Oval Office, which is basically what we're dealing with. Send me your thoughts about this. I'm on Twitter at @dpakman. The show is on Twitter at David Pakman Show. Today's program sponsored in part by Tagadab, the hosting specialist. Whether you need dedicated server solutions, virtual private servers, cloud server options, custom server solutions, co-location services, whatever you need for your business or project, Tagadab and their expert hosting specialists and support will set you up with what works for your business or project. And their hosting services support a really wide range of customers and businesses around the world, including bloggers, tech startups, financial traders, gamers, web developers, and more. You can use the code TDPS20 to get a 20 British pound credit towards cloud server options at signup.tagadab.com/TDPS. With that, you can try out their services and save 20 British pounds, about 23, 24 US dollars. You use the code TDPS20 at signup.tagadab.com/TDPS. Check it out.